Hi folks, in this video I'm going to show you how I went about making this two-piece coffee scoop. This is primarily a lathe project. Everything was turned on the lathe, except I did use a bandsaw to create a press for the handle because the handle is bent into shape rather than cut. And so if you've got a bandsaw, you're good to go. Otherwise you have to use a coping saw. Otherwise this is primarily just a lathe project. So here in the next few minutes I'll show you how it all went. So to get the curved handle, I'm going to boil a piece of walnut and clamp it into its curved shape. Doing this rather than cutting the wood to its shape allows me to use scrap pieces of walnut that would otherwise be thrown in the trash. So I've drawn this curve out. I think this is what my handle is going to look like. And then also I'll cut this on the bandsaw, and then this will become the clamp that we use in the vise to form the handle. Next up is to turn the handle. I'm going to make everything round, and none of this needs to be very exact. I'm going to sand it a little bit more to shape later once it's been curved, except for this end. This end's going to attach to the scoop, and so I need to turn this down to a 1/4 inch to fit into a 1/4 inch hole. I'm going to leave it just a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch so it's a tight fit, and then I'll make a little, I haven't quite decided, some kind of decorative stopper so that it butts tightly up against the bowl. Alright, well, the handle is shaped. I lost all or most of the turning of that just because my phone ran out of memory, but it's not interesting anyways. Basically it's a 1/4 inch on this end. It tapers a little tiny bit to a larger end on this side, and just a little stopper that's going to butt against the bowl. So next up is I'll saw this off, and we'll go boil this and try to get it to bend to shape. Alright, the handle is sitting there in the boiling water. I'm going to let that run for about an hour. If this were a softer wood like sycamore, you could get away with less time. I just don't know how long it'll take for this wood to become pliable, the walnut to become pliable. So I'm just going to let it run for quite a long time. So in about an hour, I'll come back, and I've already got the vise set up ready to clamp. So at about 7 o'clock, I'll be coming back to it. Alright, it's been almost exactly an hour. So it's time to fish this thing out and see if we can't clamp it up. This will start to dry out pretty quickly, so I want to try to move pretty quickly. Off. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. That in there for you. So I'm just going to let that dry. Last time I did this, it didn't take more than an hour or two for this thing to hold its shape. But I'm probably going to let it sit throughout the night, and then I'll unclamp it tomorrow morning. While the handle is drying, I'm going to go ahead and hollow out and shape the bowl. Alright, so I've got the bowl hollowed out. I still need to do a little bit of sanding and whatnot, but I need to get it to the correct volume. And so what I've done is I've got some homemade Play-Doh, and I picked out exactly 2 tablespoons of this. And so I'm going to shove that in there and see where we're at. Looks like we need to go just a smidgen deeper. The good thing about using such a big piece of wood and just using Play-Doh and whatnot is that I can make this just a little bit oversized, and then once I have the Play-Doh shoved in there, I can just take off a little bit of the rim until it gets to the height that creates the volume I want. So I'm going to cut a little bit more, and then we'll resize it as needed. Alright, so the volume is spot on. Next up, I'm just going to finish the interior, and then I'll flip it around and we'll finish the outside. I'm not going to show me sanding the inside. I'll come back to you when I've got this flipped around. I decided to mount the bowl to a wood or a glue block just to make my life a little bit easier for holding the material. So the next step is just to cut roughly this shape without going through. Okay, I've got the bowl sanded up, and so next up I need to drill the hole for the handle. Alright, the handle came out of the vise, and I gave it a sanding and a light coating of wax, and it turned out really nice. The concern is that if you rehydrate this guy, it may just pop back to straight. I haven't confirmed that, but I think that's true. So the finish that I put on it was very light, and like I said, primarily just a wax-based finish, so it won't tend to rehydrate the handle as much. Alright, well here she is all glued up and oiled up. I like the way it turned out. There are a couple things that I would change, namely the shape of the handle. I do like this curve, but I wish that I had curved this down a little bit more aggressively so that it catches your finger just a little bit more when you're scooping out of a bag or a coffee tin or something like that. The other thing I wish I would have changed is the length of this tenon, if you want to call it that. I wish I had to make it just a little bit longer so that it protruded into the bowl a little bit, and that would then cover or hide the edges of this hole. As it is, it's basically flush, and I think that making that a little bit longer would have been the key. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with it. So I hope this helped you, and you'll be able to make your own. If so, send me a picture and let me know how it went. Alright, best of luck, and thanks for watching.